Hello. Good morning, all of you. Oh, how nice to hear that. Good morning. A nice and beautiful morning to all of you as we are starting our day with our biology class. Right? I think you all were waiting for this class. I was waiting to see you all and to interact with you guys. Okay, so welcome once again. Before I start today, I hope you have completed all your notes. If not, do complete it because very soon I'll be giving you a revision oral test. Okay, it will be a revision oral test of the chapter, what we have done. So complete it as soon as possible, and as I've always mentioned, submit your notes only when the teacher intimates. Don't just simply post. When you post, sometimes it might be, it might get missed off. So just post when the teacher intimates in the group. If suppose, for example, myself, I will give up the names for my class 9A and 9D. I will tell you which all children should post. Only then you have to post it. For myself, 9A, 9D, I will tell you where to post. Then 9B, 9C. Why I'm saying this? Because I'm still receiving notes from B and C. I'm so happy that you all are doing it sincerely. Okay, that's good. Good work and keep it up. Then since yesterday night, I'm getting, as for my dinner and for my breakfast, lot of raisins. I know that you all have done the activity. I'm happy to know. But when you post it on my window, you just post 2 pictures. But I want to know what you understood from it. Okay, just 1 or 2 lines you can write on it. Now, as I said, I will tell about the activity, when to post, and the notes. So let's start our class today. So we are done with the first chapter, Fundamental Unity of Life, and now we will go to the next chapter, that is tissues. Please, once again, read your text. Don't stay without reading your text. Read your text. So today we have the next new chapter, tissues. This is not a new word for you. This we have done last year also. But here, as I said, always it is, we learn it elaborately or in detail in 9th. Here, I am sure when you see the text, a lot of things are written. You don't know which is what, which is right, which is wrong. Don't worry. I have jotted down the main points where you can underline or you can come along or write it down in your notebook. Again, we are just repeating. From this, we have to repeat. Again, you know what are unicellular organisms. You know what are multicellular organisms. We have done the difference between unicellular and multicellular organisms. Just a repetition. We know that unicellular organisms, they are single-celled, okay, like amoeba, chlamydomonas, paramecium, and bacteria. And in amoeba, what all they do, the activities, they are unicellular. So all type of activities happen, like food intake, excretion, the movement, they do it by themselves. So unicellular organisms, like amoeba, they have their own they do it by themselves. And they're single cell, like intake of food, your movement, excretion, all it's done in it. So unicellular is not new, just recalling what you're supposed to know. Then multicellular again. Multicellular organisms are organisms that have many number of cells or numerous number of cells, like in us, fungi, plants, and animals. When I say fungi, you know it is actually singular as fungus and the plural is fungi. Here, many cells, again, this is just a repetition for you to recall. Many cells group together in a single body and assume different functions in it to form various body parts in multicellular organisms. There are many different cells, but in multicellular organisms, only that they perform different functions. That's what in a simple way, in a sentence when you say. So I've just started mentioning about unicellular and multicellular organisms. This is already done. Now here, as we said, in multicellular organisms, you can see an image. This is there for the next for the animal tissue, I've just given a picture for an idea that we are going to do this. So in multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells. In multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells, and these are specified to carry out specific functions. Okay, they're specialized to carry out specific functions. The picture went large and the word got cut. Okay, don't mind it. So these cells are specialized to carry out specific functions. So in multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells, and these cells, okay, these millions of cells are specialized to carry out specific functions in multicellular organisms. So you can see the image. There are connective tissue, nervous tissue. In our human body, there are different types of tissue. Connective tissue, nervous tissue, skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, epithelial tissue, smooth. We are going to learn about this in further chapter. You can see in humans, I've given so that a picture, a video, animated image, so that you know what it is. In humans, muscle cells contract. I told you on the picture we have muscle cells. These are different types of cells. What activity is happening? In muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. Nerve cells carry messages. You know the neuron, right? And blood flows. Now blood tissue. Blood flows to transport what all? Oxygen, food, hormones, and waste material, and so on. It goes on and on. So in multicellular, there are different types of cells, and they have their own function. That's why they are specialized cells. They're specialized, these millions of cells are specialized to carry out specific functions. So that is what I've mentioned. Muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. And nerve cells, they carry messages. We know about neuron. We have learned a detail about neuron. Then blood tissue, they flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones, and waste material, and so on. It goes on. Now here, we say about humans. Now in plants, vascular tissues. Vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to the other part. Vascular tissues, it consists of xylem and phloem. Xylem, they conduct water and nutrients from the roots. And phloem, they distribute whatever food is made by the leaves to other parts of the plant. So they constitute what's called vascular tissues. You can just see, I've given an image for you to know. If you cut this slice of it, it is a detailed structure is given here. So vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part to the other parts. And so multicellular organism show division of labor. I mentioned division of labor we have done in the previous chapter. That is, for example, we have done to make you understand. I've said, for example, heart has its own function, it pumps blood. Stomach, again digestion. So that is how you remember what is division of labor. So here in plants, vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem, they have their own functions. They conduct food and water from one part of the plant to another. And so multicellular, they show division of labor. So here it is like this. Always remember, multicellular organisms are more complex than the unicellular. Now, we have already learned what tissue is. This is there. But I tell you, a group of cells which are similar in structure, they all get together to form a specific task, a particular task. A group of cells which are similar in structure, they work together to form a particular task. That is the right definition. I've given in the notes, you just have to learn. You don't have to worry. This I've just given so that you don't miss your lines in the text too. Cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. Now obviously, millions of cells are there and they have specific functions. They all are grouped together in the body. We have millions of cells. Okay, they are grouped together, but the functions are different. They're specialized to perform a particular function. That is, a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells called a tissue. You can write like this, or the definition which I have given in the notes, and the notes will be coming up. Group of cells which are similar in structure, and they work together to perform a specific task or a particular function. It's given in the notes, you don't have to worry, but this is specified in your text. If you find this one easier to learn, you can study. There's no worries, as long as your definition is right. Okay? What is tissue or defined tissue? I hope you all are with me. Are you guys with me or enjoying the morning? Are you with me? Can I hear somebody saying yes? Are you there? Okay. So a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells is called tissue. So you can either write this, or we can have the definition what I'm giving in the note. Yeah, okay. I understood that you're there. Good that you guys are there with me. Now here, you must understand, tissues are arranged and designed to give the highest possible efficiency function. So they are arranged and designed in such a way that they have to give the efficiency, highest efficiency of function. Okay, they have to perform it well. They are designed like that. They're designed and they are arranged to give the highest possible efficiency of function. Examples of some tissues. Don't worry, we'll be learning systematically what is in plants and what are in animals. Like blood, phloem, and muscle. I've just given, suppose I ask, can you name 2 tissues? That you can say blood, phloem, or muscle. It's coming up, we are going to learn it elaborately in further, as I'm going to teach you now. So here we must understand, tissue is arranged and designed to give the highest possible efficiency of function. They are designed in such a way that they give the highest efficiency of function. Yes. Sorry. Now you have to know the difference between plants and animal type of tissues. You have to know what makes them different. This is, they can ask, mention few differences between plant tissues and animal tissues. So you have to know what it is. We know that, in simple sentence, we know that plants are stationary. They are just there itself. But animals, they have movement. That is the first thing we know. Plants are stationary, they cannot move. But animals, they are involved in active locomotion. They can move. You have to know this. Differences between plant and animal tissues. You can take it, you can write it down, or you can later see and check the YouTube when it's posted. Here you have to know this. It is important. Plants are stationary or fixed. I always like to have differences in boxes. This is the way it's easier to learn instead of writing paragraphs, children. I have still seen people writing paragraphs that will not do so much good to you. When you write the differences between one versus the other, you try to have it like this. So this will be easier. When we have learned plant cell and animal cell, to write the differences in boxes like this, it will be easier, and it will be easier to remember too. When you write in paragraphs or in sentences, you might miss out the important points. So let's go to plant tissues and animal tissues, the difference. Plants are stationary or fixed, and hence has large quantity of supportive tissue, generally has dead cells. So because they are always stationary and fixed, most of it will be supportive tissue, generally has dead cells. But animals are always in the move. For what? Food, for reproduction, for shelter, and they consume more energy. Obviously, when they are on the move in search of all this, okay, animals adapted to move in search of all this, obviously they will contain living cells. Got me? the first point. Here, plants are stationary. Animals are always on move. Plant cells, normally they have generally the dead cells. But here, animals, they have living cells. Now, the pattern of growth in plant. Growth is limited to certain regions and not uniform. Very important. The growth is limited to certain regions of the plant and it's not uniform. So it will be the other way around. Obviously, if this is like this, it will be the other way around for it. Growth is not limited to certain region. Cell growth is more uniform. If this is not uniform, obviously that will be uniform. That is the way to learn and write and remember. If one is present, the other will obviously be absent. That is why we say differences. That is the way to remember. Okay, children? Next one is organization of organs and organ system is not that complex as that compared to animals. But here we have organization of organs and organ system. Whatever organs and organ system we have is very much highly complex when compared to plants. I hope you are all with me and you're able to understand. It's nothing, it's easy. If this is this, the other one is that. It is just the opposite. The other one, again, tissues are adapted to sedentary existence. And here, tissues are adapted to active locomotion. Sedentary, no movement. And here, it is to active locomotion. If you don't remember the whole sentence, it's easier to remember like this. Plants are stationary and fixed. Generally, they have dead cells. You got me? Animals are always in the move, and they have move or locomotion, and they contain living cells. Here, stationary, dead cells. Here, move, living cells. The other one, the growth is limited, okay, to certain regions and not uniform. This is an easy sentence. The other one, the growth is not limited to certain regions, and the cell growth is more uniform. Here, the organization of the organ system and the organs not as complex as animals. There, obviously, if this is not as complex, that will be highly complex. That is how you learn. Then here, again, tissues are adapted to sedentary existence. Their tissues are adapted to active locomotion. Sedentary, again, not on move. Here, it is active locomotion. So I hope you have noted down this. You can take it down later. And if you're noting it now, you can note it down. Or later you can have a look on the YouTube. This is important. You know, they can ask, give the differences between plant and animal tissues. Now, we are going to learn about plant tissues in detail and animal tissues in detail. So today we're starting with the idea of plant tissues. Already, most of you can read what it is. It is understood. Plant tissues are divided into meristematic tissues and the other one, permanent tissues. For heaven's sake, don't worry about the pronunciation. Learn the spelling correctly. Meristematic, or they are called also meristems, and the other one, permanent tissues. We'll be dealing with meristematic tissues. Here in plants, they divide, cells divide, right? Based on the dividing capacity of tissues, plants can be classified as growing or permanent tissue. Another word for meristematic, we have their growing tissues, and the other one, permanent tissues. Because according to the dividing capacity of the cells in plants, the tissues are divided into two. One, meristematic or growing. The other one, permanent tissues. You have to know this. Plants are divided into two types of tissues. One, the meristematic tissues, or another may say growing. The other one, permanent tissues. So today we'll deal with permanent tissues. Now, they've given, as I've given, meristematic tissue or growing cell. The growth of plants occurs where it occurs only in certain specific regions. This is because the dividing tissues, also known as meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. So certain points only meristematic tissues are specific regions, only meristematic tissue is found. So the growth of plants occur only in certain specific regions. This is because when growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions, it is understood this is because it is a dividing tissue. Immediately you must understand the dividing tissue also known as meristematic tissue, is located at certain points. Now you'll be wondering, what are these certain points? That also we'll be going. You have to know that the growth of plants, when it occurs only in certain specific regions, there are certain regions in the plants. So when the growth happens only in certain regions, this is because of what? Because of the dividing tissue, also known as meristematic tissue, is located at these points. Now we will learn further what are these meristematic tissues. Here, the meristematic tissues are divided into three: apical meristem, intercalary meristem, lateral meristem. Important, you have to know how to draw this. You should learn to draw this with a label. You have to draw and label. This will be asked. It's a teacher's favorite, as I always say. So based on the location of their presence, meristematic, so that's why certain points, that is why I mentioned certain specific regions. So it's understood they are dividing cells, that is meristematic tissues there present. So based on the location of their presence, meristematic tissues are classified into apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem. Okay, this is important. I've given the notes also. You have to draw and label. They can ask, explain the different types of meristematic tissue, draw and label. So it is important. You don't have to come and ask, ma'am, should we learn this, should we draw this? No, you have to draw and learn this. It's very easy, it's not so difficult. So meristematic tissue, 3. Apical, apical, it's a different, you write the spelling correctly, intercalary or lateral. Now here, new cells are produced by meristems. Obviously, new cells grow, dividing cells. So new cells are produced by meristems, and they are initially similar to meristems. Whatever cells they are producing, new cells, that is similar to their cells. But as they grow and mature, the characteristics starts changing slowly, and they become a part of other components of tissues, of other tissues. So when the new cells of meristems are produced, you must understand they're dividing cells. So new cells are produced, they're growing up. Initially, it will be similar to what it was earlier, but as they grow and mature, the characteristics slowly change, and they become differentiated as components of other tissues, and they become a part of other tissues. Because naturally, when they grow and mature, characters does change. It won't be what they were initially. That is what they meant this in sentence in this. They will look different, so they become a component or a part of other tissues. Now here you can see an animated image I've given to understand about apical meristem. Apical meristem, now where it is found, I said specific regions. Now you must understand where it is found. Apical meristem is present, this is important, at the growing tips of stems and roots, and it increases the length of stems and roots. You can see that. So where is apical meristem found? They are present at the growing tips of stems and roots, and it increases the length of stems and roots. It's found where? We know it is at stems and roots. Where? At the growing tips. And what it does, obviously, if it is there at the growing tips, it increases the length of stem and roots. I hope you understood this. It's not, see, this is how you learn. I'm sure when you see this itself, you will understand when it's highlighted in red. This is at the growing tips of stem and roots, and where, what does it do? It increases the length of stem and roots. Now, we are talking about the lateral meristem. The width of the system, or the thickness of the stem or root, increases the width or thickness of the stem and root. Now this is about lateral meristem, due to lateral meristem, or what is also called as cambium. You don't have to worry, you just have to know cambium, because cambium, there are 2 types of cambium. There's cork cambium and vascular cambium, that you will learn when you're in the higher class, but just you have to know that lateral meristem do have another name like cambium. But cambium is also divided into 2, that is vascular cambium, cork cambium. Don't worry, I'm just for your knowledge, I'm telling you all this. Here, you just have to understand the width or thickness of the stem or root increases due to which meristem or which meristematic tissue, that is lateral meristem, that is cambium. Now we have the intercalary meristem. Apical, you can see it's on top. Lateral, you can see there where it is. Now it's intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem is seen in some plant located near the node. Node, a part of the plant of the stem where the leaves come out. I am sure you know what is a node by now. The node where the leaves just come out. It's a part of the plant where normally the leaves come out. Node, internode, one node and the other node we say internode. So there these guys are there, the intercalary meristem or the meristematic tissue. Intercalary meristem is seen in some plants. Yes, somebody said yes, he knows, good enough. Intercalary meristem is seen in some plants and it is located near the node. Please don't mix up the things when you write where what is present. Okay? You should be very careful when you write. Maybe you have done the right diagram, but if you mention something which is supposed to be in intercalary, you mention for the lateral and lateral for the intercalary, it becomes a problem for you and for us also to correct. So learn it correctly. Here, apical meristem, easier to understand. They are at the growing tips of stem and roots, and it increases the length of stem and roots. Okay? Growing tips. That is the word where you can remember. The other one, the girth or the thickness of the stem and root increases. Why it increases? There must be a reason, because of the presence of whom? The lateral meristems. If you don't remember this word, don't worry. Maybe you don't remember, but you have to be careful of this word. You have to remember that. The other one, the intercalary meristem, is seen where it is located in some plants near the node. I hope you understood. This is totally new for you. That is why I'm telling you, whenever I teach you guys, at least go through it, underline the important points or take down the points what I'm teaching in the class. And then when you get the notes, when you see everything together, you'll find it, you'll understand more better and clearly. Okay, are you all with me? Or are you all sleeping? Fresh morning, rainy season, cold weather. Who will not love to sleep? Okay, you all are there with me. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes, yes. Guys are with me. I don't know about the girls. Okay. Okay, now, okay, God, no. The girls are also with me. Thank you. Enough. Now, let's come back. Okay, I saw it. Now, there are, as always, we have characteristics of meristematic tissues. When I say, please stop it, you have to stop it because we get to see the names of who is playing it around. Okay, dear. No worries. Let's carry on. Always remember, for everything, there'll be features or characteristics. So here, the characteristics of meristematic tissue. What are the characteristics of meristematic tissue? One, the cells of meristems or meristematic tissue are very active. They have dense cytoplasm, but thin cellulose walls, prominent nuclei, and they lack vacuoles. Meristematic tissue, they lack vacuoles. So one, they're very active. They have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose walls, prominent nuclei, and lastly, they lack vacuoles. When I write it like this, it's easier for you to understand. So you can note down like this. In the text, you might see so many things. Even when you open the text, you might get mad. I got so many things. But I have tried my best to make it easier for you to understand each chapter better. And I hope you like it. Okay. So these are the characteristics. 1, 2, 3, 4. Active, dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose walls, prominent nucleus, the nuclei is there, but they lack vacuoles. Now, why they lack vacuoles? There's a question like that, why the meristematic cells lack vacuoles? We know that meristematic cells divide frequently and give rise to new cells. So, hence they need dense cytoplasm and thin cell wall. But what does so they are dividing. They are dividing the cells. So what happens? Vacuoles will cause hindrance. It will cause a barrier in the cell division. Why? Because we have learned last class, vacuoles are full of cell sap, the fluid that is in cell sap. And it also provides turgidity and rigidity to the cell. Your favorite words. I know by now you must be practicing. Turgidity and rigidity. Okay, I know since last year you all were trying out these words, and now this is again brought back in this chapter. So what happens, these vacuoles, they causes hindrance or barrier in cell division. So meristematic cells do not need to store these nutrients. They have their own compact shape. This is not given in a text. I don't think it's there in the text. You can note it down or you can note it down later. So you must understand why the meristematic cells lack vacuoles, because meristematic cells divide frequently and they give rise to new cells. So obviously when they're dividing frequently, they need dense cytoplasm, okay, and they are having thin cell wall. But when vacuoles are present, it causes a barrier or a hindrance in the cell division, because vacuoles are full of cell sap, which to provide turgidity and rigidity to the cell wall. That is what they are trying to tell. So meristematic cells, they need not store these nutrients. So as they have a compact, they already have a compact shape. So they needed to store all these nutrients. So I hope you have understood. Where I taught is, I wanted you to mainly understand I said we have repeated the differences between the unicellular, multicellular, you should know. That is how we went. Water tissue is defined tissue, and then I said there are two types, that is plant tissues and animal tissue. We went with the differences, you should know that. And then we started with the plant tissue. Plant tissues, I said, the meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue, we are done with it, we have started it and we are in the flow of it. Meristematic is done today, and I said that meristematic tissues are divided into three. That is apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem. And I said where what is found, you should know it correctly, and I gave a picture, you should learn to draw that. These are the main areas, mainly meristematic. When they ask you for the exam or the test or anything, they'll ask you what type of tissue it is or how it is classified, because these are all dividing cells, so they are found in specific regions. Meristematic tissues are found in specific regions only. And the types of meristematic tissue, so such, and the diagram is important. That is the teacher's favorite. Okay, so I hope you've understood. Tissues are, it's not that, it is a chapter like this. All your chapters, most of the chapter till the end, it is like this. The cell you saw, how elaborate it was. Now the tissues, a little more, further when you go, you'll understand, especially when you reach the animal tissue. Now next class, we'll take about the permanent tissue. There also it's classified into two to three types, so that we will do in the next class. If any doubt you have, you can ask your subject teacher. You can ask her personally. There's no harm in it. You're always welcome. So for today, I'm stopping with it.